So as this is breaking news, I thought I'd do a little live stream about it. And how this video is really going to go is I'm going to sort of give my opinion on everything. And then if there's comments at the end, I'll read them out. But I'm not going to read them out to start with. And it's just a good way of getting out my opinions and everything. So as you know, most people probably already know that in Jacksonville, there was a mass shooting at a Madden NFL tournament. And BBC reporting several people being killed in a shooting at an entertainment complex in Jacksonville, Florida. The suspected gunman, a white male, was dead at the scene, and no other suspects were being sought after, the sheriff's office had said. An unspecified number of people were also wounded in the incident. So you've seen a lot of people tweeting and everything about this event, and I've got some good tweets to read here. So, Jacksonville landing shooting. White male, early 20s, believed to be from Baltimore, used a semi-automatic handgun, appears to have acted alone, killed himself inside. Name not confirmed yet. And then I got some other good tweets from other people who have commented on the issue. So Elena Pierce, who's really prominent in the games industry, she works for Funhouse, used to work for IGN. She said, "One thing I will say, people in the US often tell me they don't want to visit Australia because of spiders or snakes. I always find that a little frustrating. I am far more afraid of mass shootings and the humans behind them than I ever will be of nature." So, you know, she comes from Australia, and Australia passed gun laws, I think it's about 20 years ago now, and they haven't had a mass shooting since. Someone else, Alan Best, said, Pulse nightclub, Parkland, Stand Your Ground law, and Jacksonville. Governor Rick Scott puts his alliance with the NRA, who gives him an A+ rating ahead of his constituents. Floridians should keep that in mind when they vote this fall, so just criticising the local government there. And then Eugene GUMD, some weird doctor who kind of gets prominent on Twitter, he said, "Every other country has mentally ill individuals. South Korea and Japan play way more video games than us. But the only mass shootings at a video game tournament in the history of the planet happened in Jacksonville landing. At a Madden tournament for sports, I wonder why." So a lot of things are going to come out of this mass shooting, but the obvious thing I feel is the mass shooting culture in America, and you might ask what that means and everything. So I wrote an article for my university's paper about 3 years ago about America's mass shooting culture after a reporter killed another reporter on I think it was just a live news broadcast. Anyway, I wrote about the culture. So this is what I think the culture in America is, because America fetishizes, you know, guns, the army, the military. They fetishize violence so much, and because of that, and because of the attention they give mass shootings as well, this whole subculture has emerged. Is like where if you're like a disgruntled person, it's kind of like a last fuck you to the world, and you'll kill a bunch of people, and you'll get famous in your death. And it's a bit of, you know, glory for you. That's how these nutcases see it, essentially. And a lot of them have wrote about this before they've done the mass shootings. And I think this comes into part of it. So this guy who shot up, you know, the gaming center, you know, we don't know his motives. It's unclear at the moment. But if he went in there with a gun, say he didn't want to shoot anyone, right? He didn't go in there planning to shoot anyone. And then he lost the game and he's a bit unhinged. He says, "Fuck you, I'll start shooting," and stuff. And that's the problem you have in America. So this mass shooting thing is so acceptable, and these nutcases see it as a legitimate way to go out. You know, normal people, I guess, commit suicide. You know, they just kill themselves, and people may say that's selfish and stuff. But in America, there seems to be another element where, while committing suicide, your goal is to take down loads of people with you, and you could blame that on mental health. But how many times in other countries do you see people killing themselves while taking out as many people as they can? It doesn't happen that often, really, does it? Aside from terrorists whose goal really is to kill themselves at the end of the day, you know, especially Islamic terrorists, to get into the afterlife, you don't really see it that much. And it's kind of like a uniquely American, you know, America has some really crazy things. It's like, I will take down as many people with me before I die. You see that in Las Vegas as well. Literally a guy with no motive to do it, never talked about anything like this, never been that weird, just randomly shoots up and kills 50 people before, you know, getting killed by police or killing himself, I think he did. They always seem to kill themselves. And it is a way, it's a last fuck you to the world. That's how I feel definitely about it. And, you know, people saying it's not, I mean, I want to get into later, the gaming culture, it's nothing to do with gaming. You know, there is a subset in gaming, you know, of lonely individuals, of racists and white supremacists. There is an element of that in gaming culture, definitely. But I don't think gaming has anything to do with this shooting. You know, video games don't make you violent. This has been debunked various times. But Donald Trump, like, if you've seen the thumbnail in this video, Donald Trump has brought it back into the mainstream by saying there might be a link there. There isn't a link there. Is there a link between, you know, they used to bang on about violent movies as well? It's not the same thing. You know, if you're, you know, susceptible to violence, you might be inclined to play more video games, violent video games, and you just might be a more violent person. But someone like me and, you know, millions or probably even billions at this point of gamers, who just play video games are not violent because they play video games. You know, I play some of the most violent video games like Doom and stuff, and I like how gory and violent it is. But at the same time, it doesn't make me want to go do that in real life. I don't want to go get a chainsaw and chainsaw someone up or shoot them with a double barrel shotgun or anything like that. So it's just really annoying. But yeah, like I said, it's part of the culture. And I've seen a lot of people again arguing about gun control. Gun control works, and I don't even think that's really a debate anymore. The only reason America hasn't come around to the rest of the Western world, you know, its allies in Europe and everything, is because the gun lobby is so strong. Because, okay, fair enough. Let's say you're not like the UK or anything. You don't ban all guns. You just ban certain guns. You know, who really needs things like an AR-15? I would even argue that a semi-automatic handgun is too much. You know, like, couldn't we stop at revolver? You know, something where you could shoot 6 shots and then you have to reload. Not something like a Glock where you can shoot 17 as fast as you can and then reload really quick. Do you know what I mean? Like a revolver takes way longer to revolve. So why couldn't we stop with that if you're thinking about personal defense, shotguns and revolvers? Why does it have to go to AR-15s and Glocks? Some things that you can shoot extremely fast and customize to shoot even faster. And that is just an insane argument. And people thinking, oh, the government's all tyrannical. I've made this argument before, like, your government in America at the moment is probably the most tyrannical it has ever been. And, you know, you're not standing up to them because a lot of these militias and a lot of these gun advocates love the Republicans and love the Trump administration, you know, and it's such an easy issue for the Republicans because what they do is like, we'll protect your gun rights as long as you don't mind as we fuck over the economy, crash the economy time and again, and pick your pockets. We'll take away your healthcare. We'll cut all these social services. But, you know, we'll say we'll protect you on guns and we'll protect things like abortion and everything. So you'll keep voting for us. And this is why it really pisses me off about Republicans and gun advocates, because they're so deluded. You know, they'll vote for Republicans time and again just for the gun issue while they completely fuck them in the ass for everything else. And, you know, America really needs to wake up. Is the price to pay, you know, like I said, it fetishizes violence so much. The price to pay, you're okay with mass shootings happening on a daily basis, essentially. Loads of kids dying, gamers dying, black people going to church, white people going to church, people watching a film. You're okay with all of them being killed senselessly by people with AR-15s and Glock handguns just so you can hang on to your guns. You know, how selfish, and that's the culture of America as well. It's selfish. It's this Adam Smith capitalism. It's like, I've got mine, fuck you, basically. I don't need to worry about anyone else. Just, it's all about me. You know, I won't give up my guns to stop this problem. I just want to, you know, protect myself, or I just love guns too much. And everything like that is just really, really annoying. And like I said, I would be for banning all guns, but a lot of people in America wouldn't. So the compromise, I think, should be, if you're worried about personal defense, if you're worried about hunting, how about bolt action rifles, shotguns, and revolvers? Why do you need everything else? What's the argument to me that you could make that you need an AR-15 over a shotgun, or you need an AR-15 over a revolver? What situation are you going to be in when you need to shoot 30 rounds at, you know, is it 750 rounds per minute? You need to shoot it that quickly. Are you going to be taking on gangs of people? Are you going to be like a vigilante like the Punisher? Why do you need such, you know, a gun like that? And loads of soldiers have come out and saying civilians don't need military equipment like that. And, you know, that's obviously a really good point, and people don't need these things, and in other countries they don't. And even in countries where they have guns, like Japan, they have really rigorous laws about, you know, you have to go to training, they have to check in on you. And even in this country you can get shotguns and stuff, but it's really, really rigorous laws. And, you know, that's really the way to do it. And then, you know, by having so many guns, you have little subcultures and everything. It's okay, yeah, so nothing. Semi-automatic, yeah, but I can say in the Las Vegas shooting, he got a bump stock, and you can nearly make it automatic because that's how quick you're shooting it. And I didn't say automatic anyway. I said AR-15. I might have said assault weapon. I didn't say automatic because, you know, automatic guns are banned. That's what everyone always tells me. In 1984, they banned automatic rifles. Oh, big deal. You can still shoot 30 bullets as nearly as quick as you want out of a rifle. What do you need that for? Is rounds per minute. That's the rate they can get it at. It's like, you know, you say an MG42 can shoot 1,000 something rounds per minute. It doesn't mean you actually shooting 1,000 rounds per minute. That's just the rate of fire. That's how many you could theoretically get to. It's not like people are actually doing that. Implies automatic. Well, you would say a musket can fire 3 rounds per minute. It doesn't imply automatic. That's just how you say it. Shooting it, you know, it's just rounds per minute. How many rounds can you get out of the gun per minute? I'm not really want to argue about this, but that's how you say it. Watch Forgotten Weapons, he can tell you what it is. But anyway, that's really everything. Of course, the discourse in America is going to go to, gamers, it's a gamer culture and everything. And I don't think that's true at all. And everyone's going to go, we shouldn't ban guns, thoughts and prayers, all this bullshit. Well, the answer is just really standing right in front of them. Australia banned these sort of guns. You can't get, I think semi-automatic pistols and semi-automatic rifles. You can't get that anymore. And that's really the way to go for America. But of course, the whole country is completely corrupt. The political establishment, the NRA control everything. I think it said something somewhere, 70% of Americans don't own guns, but you can't get laws to protect these people from mass shootings because 30% do. And a lobby, overrepresents them in Congress and in the Senate by bribing all these politicians. And I think it just shows to everyone in the world how broken the American system is and how crazy their gun culture is. Because it is a cultural thing as well, but it's a cultural thing that is not going to be stopped until they reform their political establishments. They get money out of politics, they get corporate interests out of politics. And that's the only way you're really going to stop any of these things. And it's just really annoying how ignorant people can be and how much they love their guns. That, it's acceptable that kids get killed in school every day. Sandy Hook is acceptable. That Parkland shooting is acceptable. The most recent thing at this Madden thing, that's all acceptable if you get your AR-15 or your semi-automatic Glock. Stephen McGee, I think it's every culture has violence. In the UK, we have acid attacks, we have stabbings and everything in our cities. It doesn't mean it's obviously a cultural thing because we don't have guns, so we resort more to stabbings and acid attacks. The violent people in our society, and these people probably would use guns if they could get to them, because humans are just naturally violent anyway, and criminals are often violent. So if they could get guns, I'm sure they would. But you get the guns out of their hands, so they can't use them. And obviously, there's a cultural thing in America that extends further, where you get maniacs always killing civilians, where it doesn't happen as much in the UK. Normally if there's an acid attack or a stabbing attack, so they know each other. It's a gang related thing. Rather than America, where like this Madden thing, I'm pretty sure he didn't know most of the people he killed. In Vegas, he didn't obviously know anyone he killed. In Parkland, he probably knew a lot of them, but a lot of kids he killed probably never bullied him and everything. So yeah, there's an element to America. There's something to do. Like I was saying, the subculture of, before I die, I'm going to kill as many of you as I can. I think that's something that's a bit unique to America. It's not totally unique, but I think it's very prevalent for a lot of reasons. Like I said, the media, or I said the way they glamorize violence, they glamorize the military, they glamorize guns so much. And yeah, I can understand that. But at the end of the day, the tools to kill these people are so readily available. Pretty much no background checks in some elements, depends where you get them from. And even in the state, everyone says, look at Chicago, that has gun control. Chicago has gun control, but then if all the other states and cities around it don't, I can just go buy one from another state, or I can illegally get one from another state, because the country's flooded with guns. It doesn't matter if one state or one city does it, because I can just get it from out of town and bring it back. And that's why it's so ridiculous to be like, California and Chicago examples of how gun control doesn't work. No, you need all of them, uniting and making federal laws to pass that, you shouldn't be able to get an AR-15 or a semi-automatic handgun. A gun where you can shoot as fast as you can, get as many. Yeah, I agree, Steve McGee. You can import illegal guns easily to the United States because you have, Mexico on the border, you have all these South American countries where the gun, illegal gun running comes from. But it's an argument that I guess makes sense. But in France, for example, right? So the reason terrorist attacks in France often use guns is because France is in mainland Europe, where you can smuggle things easier to France. The reason the UK doesn't have gun terrorist attacks for the most part is because it's so hard to get a gun here, because we're a bit more isolated. So that's a legit argument. But what you're going to do is say, like, let's not make it harder to legally get guns, because it's so easy to get illegal guns. Why can't you do both? Do you know what I mean? Why can't you say, let's toughen up the gun laws, let's try and stop more guns flooding the country, but at the same time, let's make it harder for civilians to get guns? And like I'm saying, it's because of the broken politics and everything, all the Republicans in the pocket of the NRA. And all this talk, Betsy DeVos wanting to arm teachers to stop school shootings. That is just a move to, make the government spend more money on the NRA, or the NRA's, the various groups the NRA lobby for. Because teachers in America don't even have enough for textbooks. Why are you giving them guns? Do you expect them to kill their own students, even if they are doing a mass shooting? It's insane. And the solution to the problem isn't arm more people, it's arm less people and make it harder for people to get guns. And obviously the mental health thing comes into it, but you can't deflect from the gun thing by saying, oh, it's a mental health issue. It's both, but mental people exist everywhere. Mental people exist in the UK, mental people exist in Japan and Australia. They aren't able to shoot up and kill as many people as they can before they kill themselves. That just doesn't happen in these countries. And yet, like, there's various factors, but at the end of the day, it's because they can easily get these tools to commit mass murder. It's so hard to get a gun in the UK. It's so hard to get a gun in Japan or in Australia because the gun laws are so tight and because their politics aren't completely corrupted. You know, the safety of the citizens and general safety on the streets is more important to them than gun sales because they're not completely corrupted by the NRA and various other lobby groups. There's loads of other issues that come into it. But at the end of the day, this just reminds everyone of what's wrong with America. I mean, you have someone like Donald Trump and the GOP, but it doesn't even just extend to Donald Trump. The Democrats can be pretty bad for this as well. And Stephen McGee asked, why do people carry guns? Well, obviously, America is different. A lot of people would want to feel safe because there's so many guns in America. You know, you don't need to carry a gun in the UK because no one's going to come at you with a gun. So they might come at you with other things, but most people don't feel the need to. In America, I guess it's so flooded with guns that you feel like you need to. But the way to stop that is to, you know, make it harder for people to get guns. And hopefully that will trickle down, make it, you know, if they come at you with a knife, yeah, you're fucked, aren't you, as well? But at the end of the day, that's just something you got to accept. You know, one day maybe someone will come at you with a knife and you're not, and you got to think on a larger scale, not, you know, one day, you know, I might need this gun, so I'll just accept mass shootings for the rest of the time because one day I might need a gun or find myself in a situation where I need a gun. If you feel like that, just carry a knife to a knife fight. If someone comes at you with a knife, you have your knife as well. Yeah, the selfish argument is bad because we're at this stage, especially in the richest country on earth, which is the United States. You're at this stage where you should think about the collective more. And that's what I'm saying is wrong with American culture. It's all about the individual. You know, I've got mine, so basically fuck you. This is keeping me safe, so I'll accept these mass shootings. And this is really, really annoying. And that's why, you know, a lot of the times socialist arguments for things like we want to, you know, the betterment of humanity, we want to get to this utopia where we're all equal, we're all safe, we're all free to pursue our interests and our, you know, our passions. That doesn't apply to American society saying I will get my gun where you will, you know, I'll accept these mass shootings, these kids dying, you know, I'll accept that because I can have a gun. And that is just really a selfish thing to, and I'm not even saying, you know, I'm come from a very left-wing position in terms of where I've grown up is the UK. But if, you know, in America, what I'm saying is, why do you need semi-automatic weapons? What is wrong with a revolver or a shotgun? Why can't you just have one of them? What's the argument? Give me the argument that you need something that can fire, you know, 30 bullets and then you can easily reload that. Fire as quick as you want, as quick as you can pull the trigger and then reload it. And you can put various attachments on it to make it shoot even quicker. What is the argument that you need that? Unless you're like one of these conspiracy theorists who want to rise up against the government and everything, I can't see the argument. Self-defense, you don't, how many people are you fighting against? These are military weapons. People go into combat facing multiple enemies with these, you know, the Gulf War, you know, in the Gulf War, think for all the Iraqis, these people were fighting when they actually engaged and they had these style of weapons. When is a civilian going to be in that situation? And the middle ground in America should be, like I'm saying, revolver, shotgun. It should be limited to that. Or hunting rifle as well, bow action rifle. So, and it should depend on what state, you know, if you're a more rural hunting community, whatever. It can apply to each state, but the rule should be no semi-automatic rifles, no semi-automatic handguns. Because that is just, the argument is gone. Like when you have 17, you know, I know a Glock can have 30 round mags as well. And 17 round mags is plenty. I don't understand why you need to shoot someone 17 times to scare them away or kill them. What is wrong with a 6-shooter? If you're talking about home defense, what is wrong with a shotgun? Why do you need to be able to shoot all these things? And there's advocates for silencers in America. Why the hell do you need a silencer? What, so you can do hits and stuff? That is, you know, it's so annoying. And it's just this is the problem. Are you talking about with shotguns and Glocks and everything? But I just think that's the middle ground. You have to give, because, you know, how many, for example, if I did a school shooting, I have a shotgun, right? Shotgun is classified as non-lethal. which even though it is probably pretty lethal, it's said it's not lethal, right? And a revolver is a six shooter. So I can shoot six shots before I have to reload individual bullets into my revolver. And think of how many mass shootings could be stopped by that, because I can't shoot 30 bullets and then reload really quick with another magazine, which often happens. I shoot six shots and then I have to reload, or I shoot a shotgun, I shoot four or five and I have to reload again. And then someone could tackle them. All this element about teachers and their self-defense. It's hard to defend against military-style weapons. If the teacher has a shotgun or a rifle, this guy still has a really accurate, lethal rifle, that a similar one to what the US Army use in combat. And that's why the argument, the self-defense argument just annoys me. And yeah, we're just going to get a legal handgun, but I'm saying you got to think about the collective. And if they make it really hard to get these illegal handguns, then less people will get them. Even if you think you can get them, a lot of people won't be able to, or put a lot of people off. If I can walk into a gun shop in America like I'm walking into a candy store and just pick out what I want, that is way more appealing. If I move to a new area, I'm just thinking, oh, this gun store down the road, I might just go pick up a gun, And there's no way you'd think that if most of them were illegal. You wouldn't go in and be like, oh, look at this, like this nice AR-15 or this other type of fucking rifle. And I've seen loads of loopholes. Like because of the auto weapons ban, there's a gun that looks exactly like an M16 but shortened. And because of some weird things about the barrel, it's basically a tiny M16, and that's legal and it's automatic because they've gone through all these loopholes. And there's loads of stuff like that. So like I'm saying, it's like a candy store for some people. And that's why I think, banning most of these guns, especially the ones you can shoot so quick, would be the right way to start. Hopefully one day you ban all guns, in my opinion, because I think that's the best way. I can't imagine, and this is what I would think if I went to America, sitting in a cinema, you would have anxiety about being shot. And it's so irrational because that most cinemas in America have never had a mass shooting. Most cinemas in America are safe and everything, but in the back of your head you're like, I've heard of 2 shootings in the last 5 years where, hi generic YouTube channel, I have heard of 2 shootings in the last 5 years where someone has shot up a cinema. And I don't understand how parents in America can send their kids to school and not worry about mass shootings, because they're so regular in these schools. And this gaming convention, obviously it's not regular, but now everyone's going to be scared about gaming conventions. They're going to be like, when's the next mass shooting? And because of the copycat culture, people are actually maybe going to do it again, which is, and it's going to happen. What we're waiting for the next MLG tournament where someone shoots it up. Because they're going to start copying people, like Columbine, and what I don't remember. It was Oklahoma was the first one, and then it's Columbine and everything, and they're all copying each other. And then you have that weird Adam Lanza guy, and they're all everyone copying each other for this sick fame, because it's a subculture in America. This violent subculture, and like I said, there's many elements to it, but at the end of the day, some form of gun control is the best way to stop it. And the answer is staring Americans in the face, and all these arguments people have been giving me on the chat and everything, like I'll get illegal guns instead, all this, that's been a problem in everywhere the gun control's happened. But at the end of the day, the UK has had, I don't think it's had a mass shooting in my lifetime. The US has nearly one every single day by different definitions every year, and hundreds of thousands of people have died in by gun violence in my lifetime, 22 years old. And that's the price you got to pay. There's going to be stuff that happens along the way. It's not all going to be perfect. Yeah, but most of these mass shootings don't. I'm not talking about crime in general is obviously bad. I'm talking about mass shooting. Most of these mass shooters buy their guns legally. But that Vegas one just stockpiled weapons, didn't he? And those bumper stocks aren't illegal as well. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like this mass shooting stuff, you can say also with these guns as well. The illegal is like a different. Oh, okay, that's a good point. Actually, it's paradox. When has a black, Hispanic, or Asian ever done a mass shooting? I think that's another part of it. It's a white supremacy thing. This mass shooting subculture a lot of the time. Like I said, it's the Columbine, Oklahoma City, and everything. They're all copying each other. So it is a bit of like a white loner thing. And Dylan Roof is obviously a good example. There's a racist element to it as well, isn't there? It's like it's different reasons all the time. Some people like they've been bullied in school and everything, but where these people get radicalized, a lot of them are white supremacists, and you've seen this since Trump's became elected and Trump's become popular. A lot of them, it's a really good point actually, I forgot all about this part. A a lot of them are white supremacists, and then they've been seen with like MAGA hats on and everything like that. And I think that is a good point to bring up. You know, black people in general don't tend to do mass shootings, or Hispanics and everything, because if they did as well, they'd be going mental. You see what happens when that Muslim did a mass shooting in the Pulse nightclub. You know, the xenophobia and hysteria goes insane. They're saying it, call it terrorism a lot of the time. Even when Dylan Roof was a political terrorist and he never got called a terrorist, he killed people and he was part of these white supremacist groups, and he loved the Confederacy and he loved all these white apartheid South African groups, and no one called him a terrorist. So it is a bit of I guess it's a white privilege in a way, but it is a white thing, strangely enough, and I probably think it's a conservative thing. Yeah, no, generic YouTube channel. I was saying that earlier. It's a weird sort of subculture of fame. You know, this mass shooting culture, and like I'm saying, it's a way for some people to say like, "Fuck you, I hate society. I'm gonna kill myself anyway. I'll take as many of you as I can." And some other weirdo loners like you might be inspired by me and might idolize me in the future. I might become like one of your heroes. And apparently, there's weird fan fiction about mass shootings as well. Like it's a really dark side of the internet. But you know, it's America's TV culture as well. Really, it's like the CNN. It's the way they did war as well. That it started with the Gulf War, showing the Gulf War 24/7, showing this violence 24/7, making it seem like a movie. The O.J. The O.J. Simpson car chase and everything like that. It's just, you know, it's so fascinating to cable news, I guess, and that's why I guess it's good. Cable news is dying in a lot of ways, and you know what? Yeah, the internet is cancer. Just for you literally find anything on the internet. You know, idolizing white supremacist mass shooters, and it's like that lady who married Charles Manson in prison. America is just a really, really weird country. I don't really know what's responsible for it. I guess it's a lot of stuff. Maybe white supremacist, fanatical Christianity, really right wing conspiracy theorist shit. Maybe it's poor education. I probably have to look into it more because the way America looks down on universities, particular, all this Jordan Peterson crap about Marxists control the universities and everything, and all that stuff, and where Trump supporters who haven't gone to university will be like, "Oh, you went to university, you're brainwashed liberal," and everything. That's just not the case. But it's like they look down on education. They'll be in their bubble, and this is how you can perpetrate and stuff. Yeah, America actually is a country, but I don't think it should be a country in a way. Like you think about how. Sorry, I'm just reading a comment. Yeah, I totally get that. If I was in England just after the Dub Lane one in Scotland where Andy Murray was, I would be really paranoid about it as well. And yeah, the people saying about the films and stuff in America, like I don't know, it's the culture, and I think the GOP are responsible for keeping it relevant for as long as they have, and the education system, yeah, has failed them. Someone else was saying, because you can't really explain the craziness in America, like how absolutely mental it is in a lot of ways. Like England is a bit like, I guess it's not crazy, but there's a lot of stuff you're like, oh, that's typical English stupidity, really. I don't know, stuff like that. But like America's just like insidious. And I guess I asked someone the other day, I was like, what does America have more serial killers than the rest of the world? And they're like, well, probably not, but it's the way they're so fascinated by them and give so much fame to these serial killers, which is so different about America. And that's definitely true. Like, I can't, if I'm thinking about serial killers in the UK, I can't name one. I'm sure there's plenty. I can't name one, but I can name about 5 US ones because they're so notorious. And they got this fascination with violence in America in a lot of ways. And yeah, people are saying this is not, this is an isolated incident, but I think it's reflective of a larger problem in America, really. And I talked about it for years. I said I wrote this article. I showed at the start. I wrote this article in October 2015. It's the first thing I ever wrote about politics and stuff, and it's still relevant. And that was when Obama was president, and he couldn't do anything because the GOP locked the Congress. So if the Democrats win in November, and then they win in 2020 as well, they really got to do something about the gun problem, because it's just insane. It's an embarrassment, I think, for America that the rest of the world has all moved on. Places like Australia have enacted all these gun laws and everything, but you're still so behind. And all the arguments. I don't think the arguments people are making about illegal guns and everything really detracts from everything that I'm saying. It's like you got to start somewhere. You just meant to do nothing. Yeah, Islamophobia. You remember? Yeah, I'd say I don't really want to get into Islamophobia, but I get what you mean. Like, the way the UK especially talks about Muslim terrorists and everything, they give too much attention to it, even though the IRA, which I'm Irish myself and have connections to the original IRA from my family, great grandparents and stuff like that, um, they're not given as much attention despite killing way more people. And that's just, they latch onto different things, and Islamic terrorism is a hot topic, so the media latches onto Islamic terrorism. The same with I guess the gun things in a way, like they latch onto it a lot in America, but they love to spin it. White kid does it. It's a tragedy with a lone wolf. Muslim does it. It's obviously part of an ISIS conspiracy. Like San Bernardino, that was a shooting done by two Muslim people, and they were barely connected to ISIS, but they were calling it a terrorist attack. They're like these crazy people who just thought they're in ISIS, and they shot up was it an army base or something, and they were saying it was a terrorist attack. But when Dylan Roof does it for political purposes, it's not, a terror attack. Yeah, no, it's paradise. You're exactly right. I've been saying this live stream. People idolize them, and then they do it because they want to get the same attention. A lot of loners and stuff. You've never had the attention, haven't been shunned by society and everything. And this is why people like Jordan Peterson piss me off. It's like, yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That only Muslims do it. There's different things. Islam stuff is complex. I've made videos on Islam and the Western culture and everything, but yeah, like people saying it's a intrinsically Muslim thing to be a terrorist it's wrong in a lot of ways. Even though there is something in Islam which isn't present in other religions, is that if you kill yourself for religion, you'll go to heaven. So like martyrdom is not as present in the Christianity. If you kill yourself for Christianity, you go into hell. If you kill yourself for religion, you know. Yeah, I'm not saying Islam's unified. I don't think you misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just talking about Muslim terrorism. There's Shiism, there's Madhyism, which is sect of Shiism. There's Wahhabism. There's more secular stuff in Egypt. There's Iranian revolutionary Islam. Is everything like that? It's completely different. If Iranian revolutionary Islam hates Saudi Arabian Wahhabi Islam because it's anti-monarch, it's anti-kings and queens basically. I'm not trying to say that word. My mouth's a bit dry. But yeah, then they sensationalize things, they focus on stuff, and I get it. It goes into the culture, like the views of Muslim terrorists and everything like that. I totally understand that and everything. But yeah, and then but sometimes I go down a rabbit hole. Like on Twitter, I go on a Trump followers page, and then you see all their retweets. It's like this insane bubble. It's like they retweet Charlie Kirk, they retweet Donald Trump, they retweet, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Scaramucci. They retweet all these people, and they live in such an insane world. And I think a lot of Americans, especially who follow the Republican Party, do live in this insane world. And what people have been saying, lack of education and everything like that. Like, how can you continue, like some of the poorest people in America, in the Midwest and everything, continually vote for a party who completely fucks them over time and again, just because of token issues like gun rights, abortion, and Christianity in general? They don't mind, healthcare being stripped from them. They don't mind all these things because they're completely brainwashed. And yeah, it's education, it's everything like that. It is really annoying to see America does have problems with that, but a lot of countries. I always see the UK as a microcosm of America, to be honest, because we have a similar thing with the Brexit stuff and the Brexiteers, and everyone like, America has terrible healthcare. Yeah, it does, but Republican voters don't care as long as they get to keep their guns or, you know, abortion rights, or if they take away abortion rights. That's what I'm saying. It's terrible because the poorest people need it. Yeah, but I say the problem is the system as well. Like healthcare should be to help people. It shouldn't be for profit. And in the UK, you get it subsidized by the government. If sometimes if you go, even if you go private, like I got my dental private, it was subsidized by the government for my braces when I was a kid. And then I go to the doctors, and that's all paid for the government. And it's cheaper system overall. Studies have shown, even the Koch brothers study, and they're these Republicans, you know, they said universal healthcare is cheaper than the current American system. And that's the problem with America in general. It's everything's a profit. That That's the Adam Smith's capitalism in America. Everything's a profit. You know, saving people's lives shouldn't be the priority of healthcare. It should be exploiting them for money. And like someone was just saying, yeah, bulletproof backpacks. It's all about capitalism. You know, banning guns isn't the answer. Let's arm teachers and get bulletproof backpacks. No, the only reason isn't due to insurance inflation, because you're still paying $4,000 for an ambulance ride. You're going bankrupt from a snake bite. I read on Reddit the other day. It took us like $500,000 to treat a snake bite. Crazy shit like that. And you know, well, how much? Well, insurance inflation is a cost, but healthcare shouldn't cost anything really. In the richest country in the world, why can't they afford to implement the same healthcare system as Spain or Italy, or in the UK's case? Why do people have to pay? And yeah, okay, maybe insurance inflation is a problem, but even with good insurance, you still pay a bit as well, and you still might have to pay for the nose, even if you're in an Obamacare state or whatever. And then you've got people like inflating the cost of these drugs, you know, like the EpiPen or Martin Shkreli and everything. You know, just taking the absolute piss, and there's no real laws to protect people from it. Yeah, $1,000 in some cases, and that's not what healthcare should be. Even if you say, for example, the inflation is the problem, it's not the system. I would say the system is broken because it's still a for-profit system. It's you know, it's not targeting helping people, it's targeting making profits. And that's what I don't think the system should be, a healthcare system. It should be to help people and to make them better. And people might be scared saying, oh, that's socialism, but you should be at this point in America and the UK and everyone else, you should be at this point where you're like, okay, this is, you know, what's best for the country. We're so rich now. But I think in America's case, it's only so rich because it exploits people. Because the UN said it is the worst developed country for poverty. And I think the only reason America is as rich as it is because it's you know, bought on the backs of poor people. It's getting poor people saying, join the military so you can get healthcare and job opportunities, and we'll feed you into the meat grinder, then dispose of you. We won't help you afterwards, really. And that's how the American empire really sustains itself. It's all these things like that. And sorry if I missed some comments, just because I'm on my iPad and I don't really know how to get the comments back once they've gone. But yeah, and that's just what we learn in the university and everything. It's just, you know, the system is designed, it's not broken. Well, even though we say it's broken, I'm saying it's broken. It's not broken because it's working how it was designed to. Pharmacy $2. Is that in the US? So they're inflating it there. You're saying it's $150 in the hospital, but in the pharmacy it's $2. Yeah, it's crazy. But do you even like? I read a story about a man letting himself die because his wife didn't want to pay. Not his wife. He didn't want to let his wife be crippled by the debt. Yeah, no, that's exactly true. The vent that's why you know, John McCain, just you know, before he died, he voted to increase defense spending. No voting for helping with healthcare, even though they got the money for it. You know, people call Bernie Sanders crazy for saying you should have universal healthcare, free college for everyone and everything. But you know, when you spend that much money on war, but that's what America, you know, it's making the rich richer. It's, you know, exporting this imperialism around the world. Because make no mistake, America is an empire. People think the age of empire is over. America is the biggest colonial power that has ever existed. It just uses soft power and it uses other means to control the world. It doesn't need to anymore put, you know, bases and militaries everywhere. Yeah, but if well, for one pill, okay. No one asks the police. Well, yeah, exactly. They take it upon themselves, and it's really complicated. Like you would ask yourselves, who would you want to be in charge of the world? Russia, China, America, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's very complicated, and sometimes I don't try and think about it. I just accept that's how the world is. You know, it's the world has no morals. America's just taking what it wants because China would do the same, and Russia would do exactly the same if it could do that. Sometimes you've got to accept it, but you can still hold them to higher standard. Like saying you shouldn't sell the Saudis this much weapons. You shouldn't be helping them bomb the poorest people on earth in Yemen. You know, even this world without morals, where you're in bed with all these horrible governments, you don't have to go over the top. And that's how I think it is, because I'm realistic in knowing what the world is like. That there isn't any morals. It's all for profit. It's all for power. But at the same time, I don't think you need to go over the top. Yeah, Nigeria is another one. Niger is another one. They got just set up loads of bases in Niger as well. just to fight Islamic terrorism or under the guise of fighting Islamic terrorism, but do you think they ever really leave? And now, Nigeria is one I think we learned about in the China module I was doing. They're embedded with both China and the US. So they're using both of them, sort of like playing them off against each other. Because China's targeting Africa, helping African countries develop and everything. Yeah, China is kind of funny. It just offers them a bunch of money, but the US says you've got to change your economic model to the IMF style. And in turn, that mostly creates oligarchy. So like the Arab Spring was mostly an anti-capitalist demonstration, but everyone played that down and made it about being anti-dictators and everything. But the system that they made Egypt and Tunisia implement, the IMF, makes everything privatized, and that creates oligarchies in the country. And the same thing happened in Russia in the 1990s. The IMF came in, the US backs the IMF, and the US is largely a US controlled institution. They went into Russia, trying to make it all privatized, nothing was nationalized anymore. What it did was make it way poorer than it was in the Soviet days. Unemployment was at like 50%, and it created a massive oligarchy, which is still there today. And now Putin comes to power because they hate the West, because the West fucked over their country. And this is how America tries to manipulate the world, and then in turn destroys a lot of it as well. And it's just frustrating. Someone mentioned about American exceptionalism. This view, Americans are special, Americans are the best. They're just having their time in the sun at the moment because they're British people. We used to control the world, have the biggest empire of all time. Yeah, I agree. American Christianity is batshit. I'm an atheist anyway, so I'm against all religion. But there's something special about American Christianity. How racist it is, for one thing. How it's so infused with white supremacy. How it's been used to justify so many awful things. Manifest Destiny is largely driven by Christianity. All this stuff about being anti-communist. Basically, the whole Cold War was fueled by this right-wing Christianity. Killing 4 million people in Vietnam, killing the poorest people on earth with chemical weapons in Vietnam, and it's all driven by being so scared of communism. And the thing in Vietnam as well is there's no nuance in the view, because Vietnam hates China. Vietnam's always hated China. Vietnam went to war with China in 1979. America fought because they're so afraid of communism that Vietnam had just become a stooge of China. And they fought a whole war based on this assumption that the whole territory would just be controlled by China. In fact, when you look in more nuanced terms, communism, socialism doesn't make all states love each other, even if you're so terrified of it because you're Christians. But then they had to kill 4 million peasants and then lose to find that out, that Vietnam doesn't actually love China just because it's communist. And it's just this Christianity is really toxic, isn't it? Like Christianity, I'd say Trump wouldn't be elected without Christianity. And it's always anti-abortion stuff and everything. It just helps. And like I said, it's all plays into this thing where right-wingers in America will continually vote Republican, even though Republicans have no interest in really helping them at all. And that's why, all these token issues like gun rights, abortion, and everything like that. And it's like, we'll protect these, or we'll completely fuck over your lives. We'll, we'll tax you more for things you don't need and want to pay for, like war and unending war. We'll, pay out all these things you don't like. We'll pay all these companies. We'll subsidize like Elon Musk's projects and everything. And the people who suffer most are Republicans, really. You vote for Republicans, you get fucked over by Republicans. All politicians are evil. Yeah, I'd say most politicians are evil. I'd say there's a few exceptions. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, some others, Jeremy Corbyn. Some are okay. Yeah, it's paradise. I know about Puerto Rico. Basically, the US is basically a US colony, but doesn't have the same rights as people in the US. And the fact that the US government said, was it like 69 people died in the Puerto Rico hurricane, and it was literally like 4,000 or something, shows how badly they treat it. And Cuba used to be in the same boat. They put Batista in charge. They let the American or the Italian American mafia basically run Cuba. And when Cuba becomes independent, it wasn't communist at first, became independent. They put a massive embargo on it, so it had to become communist to be an ally of the Soviet Union. Just crazy stuff like that. And that's all, it's all driven by Christianity. To America, we'll put dictators in charge. So Stephen says, moan about the right isn't an excuse to idolize the left. The thing about the right is conservatism by its very nature is protecting things that as they are. They're not open to change. Abortion, that's the reason they don't like abortion. There's other reasons like being Christian, but that goes hand in hand with being conservative. And being conservative, what it really should mean is not wanting to spend loads of money or limiting the government's influence. But that's not what American conservative means. It means giving the government whatever they want, taxing people to fund illegal wars and fund the military industrial complex and not really care about what being a conservative is. Trump's military budget is so big. They approved all these things to increase the military. Real conservative wouldn't do that. Even Rand Paul and Ron Paul, they're sellouts really because they say all these things, but they always vote differently. Or in the case of his father, he's gone now, but voted differently. And that's why American conservatism is bullshit, and American Democrats aren't better, a lot of them. But what the thing is, you don't have a Republican version of Bernie Sanders. John Kasich is as close as you get, but he'll still vote along party lines most of the time. You don't have, a British version on the Tory party of Jeremy Corbyn as well. That's awful. It's paradise. I'm sorry that happened, but yeah, it just shows the US doesn't care about brown people, especially this government. If that hurricane happened in New York, you bet everyone would get everything they deserved if they lost their home and everything. But if it happens in Puerto Rico, somewhere the US colonized, you don't get anything. It's the same with all their ex-colonies and everything. Like I was saying about Cuba, just treat the population like shit. And America, what the main problem is, I think, because it's just risen and risen through its history, it's never had to apologize for anything. So the fact that Trump can say that Andrew Jackson, not Andrew, yeah, Andrew Jackson, not Andrew Johnson, who's the other president. Andrew Jackson is his favorite president, despite being, awful for Native Americans. All this violence his administration carried out on Native Americans. The fact Trump can say that and say we won't apologize for America, say all these racial slurs, say everything. The fact that he can get away with that just speaks to a large problem in America. They've never had to reconcile their history. They never had to reconcile their genocide of the natives. They've never had to reconcile, the Christianity, the way they justified slavery with Christianity. They never had to reconcile that, and they never had to reconcile the way they conquered Cuba and Puerto Rico and the Philippines. Yeah, that's true. The one thing about Trump, people are waking up to how broken the American system is, and what the mistake people are making is that it's uniquely Trump rather than uniquely American. Trump is the ugly face, but he, the heart of Trump is the heart of America to me. He represents what America represents. But Obama dressed up all nicely. Yeah, Hawaii is another good example as well. Just a part of the American empire. Oh yeah, don't worry, stalking bosses, about your spelling. Um, but yeah, like the way Germany had to reconcile with itself and its fascism and the Holocaust, it still reconciles to it, and the way it apologizes continually about it, it does the right thing. But America has never had to do that. Even in the UK, we've had to do that a bit, especially with the Windrush stuff lately. But the difference about the UK as well is, well, actually, I'm not going to get into the topic. France versus UK empires and how we handle the race and everything. I don't really want to get into that. But anyway, the US never had to apologize. And maybe one day when it gets toppled, when China becomes the most dominant power in the world, maybe something happens to the US. It will have to reconcile with how it treats people. Hi, Grand Governor. I was talking about mass shootings. We were just talking about how America is broken, essentially, its system of government, how it treats people and everything like that. But yeah, like America's time will come. Maybe in my lifetime, maybe not. But China is going to become the dominant power. I'm pretty sure of that. And America will have to look at itself one day and be like, oh, see you later. It's paradise. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I know it's a sad day, but I think it's just, another day in America, really. How many mass shootings this year? How many mass shootings in the last 5 years? Yeah, Bernie Sanders for president. And, the reason I would say that, even though I pretty much agree with everything he says, is because America is so broken, you need someone radical, not radical really, but you need someone who the public view is radical to change the whole system. You need someone to come in and be like, I'm going to do this, 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 because our country is so fundamentally broken that I need to change it. And that's why Democrats infuriate me, like this centrist bullshit, where, especially in America as well, centrist bullshit, like, just will give a little. That's why Hillary Clinton's getting elected. Saying you'll make Obamacare a bit better. No one's enthusiastic about that. Saying to everyone, I'm gonna make healthcare, a fundamental right. You're gonna get it for free. You're not gonna be bankrupted by healthcare costs. You're not gonna have to worry about if you get cancer and you die, your family are gonna be bankrupted. Saying I'm going to make Obamacare a bit better is not the solution, and that's why Trump won. He's like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and why it appeals to different people. Yeah, US center in the US. I always say this: Hillary Clinton is Theresa May. Basically, I say Theresa May is more liberal than Hillary Clinton. That's what Americans don't realize, especially the feminist element that supported Hillary Clinton is pissed me off so much because it's like being a feminist, you're for social justice. You're pretty left wing, but you're voting for someone who doesn't represent your values and or in general, really. And that's what always annoyed me about Hillary Clinton's nomination for the DNC. But they've changed some of the rules. The DNC, I saw they got rid of the super delegates things or something to do with super delegates. Oh no, I haven't seen that. Put a link in the comment or something. I can read it later and see it later, but I haven't seen that. It doesn't surprise me. Yeah, well, even if Hillary was for women, if you're a feminist, aren't you willing to be on the front line of social change? Why don't you go with someone who supported gay rights since 1975, which is pretty crazy for an 8-year-old guy, isn't it? He supported gay rights since he was a young man. He marched with Martin Luther King. Hillary Clinton saying all these things about super predators and saying this anti-homo, this homophobe thing wasn't for gay marriage or anything. And then you have a candidate who was for all these things, who literally marched with Dr. King. And then you're saying that Hillary Clinton is more for social change than Bernie Sanders. That's why it always infuriated me. And let's hope America wakes up. But I'm not hopeful because the electorate are idiots, like most electorates actually in this country as well. Most people don't pay attention to politics. Most people don't understand politics, and you can scare them. So in the EU referendum, most people voted because they were so terrified that Turkey was going to join the EU, meaning 100 million Muslims could freely travel to the EU. But why that is bullshit is because we've seen Turkey's moving away from the EU, but the checks to get into the EU are so rigorous, Turkey would have never got into it. And then it had a coup the year later. No way it was getting in. David Cameron said it would take another 200 years for Turkey to join. But they used that as fear of Muslims, and it worked, really well. Because there is a legitimate argument for leaving the EU if you're a socialist, if you're a hard socialist like Jeremy Corbyn. But they didn't use that. They didn't, they used this immigration stuff, so loads of right wingers would jump on and use it. Because the same thing, what happens is politicians, the Tory party played their election leadership game, and they're still playing it, using Brexit as a cover. They're fucking over the country, for their own leadership positions. Boris Johnson wants to become Prime Minister. Rees-Mogg wants to get into the cabinet and stuff like that. They're fucking over the country for their own interests. And that's what the right wing always do. And that's why I'm particularly against right wingers, because I don't idol the people saying that you shouldn't idolize left wingers because everything like that. Yeah, I agree with that as well. What you've just said. People were even saying Bernie Sanders was sexist as well, which is mental to me. But yeah, just the electorate. We just need better education in both countries, and I think taking religion away is a good way to make people, vote less tribally. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Politics should be taught in schools. So should history. I'm so annoyed. My sister just did her GCSEs, but in year 9 she had to pick. She didn't do. She had to pick between history and geography, and I think you should mandatory do both. That's just my opinion because it's so beneficial to your understanding of the world. Whereas something like math, science, everything like that, which is good for the brainy people, it's good for people who want to go into a job in engineering or science and stuff. But if you're just an average Joe, normal person, learning about history and politics is going to benefit you way more because you're going to vote for stuff in the future that directly affects your lives. And if you don't understand what you're voting for, you can, get manipulated a lot easier. And yeah, America is in dire need of mandatory geography. That Jimmy Kimmel thing's funny when people can't find like basic countries. But I know loads of people who can't find countries on maps. It's actually really infuriating. I'm good at it, like because I've done geography for a long time and everything. Yeah, and in a oh, okay, yeah, good talk, Stephen McGee. I know we didn't agree, but it was a good way to have an opposite view. You did bring up some good points about insurance and the gun rights. But yeah, cheers for watching. Sorry, we'll talk about it should be mandatory, just because it really affects your lives and like there's more to life than just England or America. You need to know about these things. You need to know about the institutions that govern our world. Also get some sleep. I got my master's dissertation due on Wednesday, so I'm staying up all night finishing that. But just what they're doing this live stream first. But yeah, cheers for watching, man. But yeah, just knowing about these things. So I'm talking about the IMF a lot. I don't know how many people know what the IMF even is. Yeah, see you later, Stephen. What the IMF even is, but it's like a system that's so relevant in our world, and I learned about it in geography, and then I learned it even further in my master's studies as to how it, benefits the world, how it doesn't benefit the world. And I think it's, the problem I think someone just brought up is politicizing history happens a ton. Like we're talking about Oh yeah, I finished on Wednesday. I'm so happy, but it's in international relations, which is apolitical science. So it's basically politics, international relations. Basically interchangeable. But yeah, it's been a long year because I just finished my 3 year history degree before. I can't wait to finish school for the first time. I'll be free. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do maybe do YouTube a bit more seriously for a bit, then have a look for a job. But yeah, politicizing history is bad. So like we're talking about Vietnam, like in terms of Vietnam, people would, would say Vietnam was bad. We killed all these civilians. We should have never done it. But then the right wing in America said it was a noble cause, which the government didn't let us win. That's what like people like Ronald Reagan said. And then you get these people believing what Ronald Reagan says, and not believing what the real history is, that it shouldn't have happened. Vietnam, you know, wasn't going to become a Chinese stooge. It would have been an independent country and everything like that. Yeah, I hate doing my dissertation. I hate doing both of them. What did you do your dissertation on, or what subject did you do? But yeah, but it's just a dangerous way, and everything's politicized these days. But this is why it's so dangerous in America. Everything, this anti-intellectual stuff, this anti-fact stuff. Thinking that Trump is a truthful person, thinking about what Trump says is, factual and everything like that is just so dangerous. And thinking that Trump even has your best interests at heart just denies the facts. Trump is, objectively, I don't really like passing judgment on loads of people. Digital animation, what did that include? I haven't heard that one before, but it's probably way more marketable than my degrees. But yeah, objectively, Trump is a liar. Trump is a criminal, and he operates like a mob boss. And I think that's like an objective fact. Like the laws he's broken, the way he acts is so irrational. This stuff with Michael Cohen, it's like a proper fixer, like a mob boss's fixer. And whether my opinion of Trump comes into this, like personally, I dislike him and everything. Trump, oh, how's he a criminal? Where do I even start? Like, paying 25 million for defrauding students through Trump University, not letting black people stay in his apartments after desegregation was passed. He got sued for that in 1973. What he's just recently done with Michael Cohen is way too big. I think the limit is $3,000 and it's $150,000 for the campaign donation thing. So for so many things that he's broken the law in office so many times. He's lied loads of times when it's illegal to lie. Everything like this. He's just typical mob boss, really. Used illegal unions in the 1980s. He used illegal immigrants from Poland and Russia to build his tower, and just all this shit. He's a lifelong criminal, and I'm looking forward to the day he gets justice. Really, just because I hate that someone like that can get away with so many things. You should keep up your art though. What do you do now in the public sector? You should always keep up the creative side, otherwise life becomes boring. But yeah, so just back to Trump, just all the things he's done. It's just annoying that Rudy Giuliani saying it's not a crime because he's rich. Basically, people should be more pissed off about people like Trump just fucking people over for years, getting bailed out by the government and everything, like using taxpayer money. People should be way more pissed off. But it just shows what's wrong with American politics. That someone like that who's fucked American people over his whole life gets put in the most powerful position in the whole country to continue to do it. It's basically looting the country. Like, how can you make foreign visitors come to your hotel which you own? So their officials are all gonna have to spend money which goes directly into your pocket. How is that not enriching himself for the presidency, which is meant to be illegal? How is that not? You're getting these people to all spend money at your hotel. It goes directly into your pocket. That is crazy. Imagine if Obama did that or something. That is illegal, but he gets away with it because of GOP at the moment. And if this is a normal person, you'd be arrested straight away if you're using something like that to enrich yourself. But again, if it was a Democratic president, be arrested. But it's just sort of a annoying thing you have to live with. It's in the UK as well. That's why I find that O.J. Simpson trial so funny. The series is really good. Just saying, he's like the first black man who's ever got off for a crime that he did. Because all these policemen at the moment getting off for all these times they kill unarmed black people. They're all getting no charges, not even manslaughter, just nothing, getting scot free. Yeah, the Trump stuff, the evidence is damning. I like it's just taking ages. It's just such because the thing with the president, what you have to understand is that it's not like a normal trial. It's the politicians that have to see him out. So an impeachment is you have a trial in the Senate and they vote to get rid of you, and then the criminal charges start. So if Trump has all these people on board that no matter what the evidence, they can still say no. And that, the Constitution is designed to stop someone like Trump becoming president and stop him from doing what he's doing. But because of his party, that they're enabling him so much, he's just getting away with all this stuff. Which, yeah, it is crazy. Especially the enriching stuff of the family is crazy. But all the crimes he's done before, like the Trump Organization, which is a charity that he has, which apparently he's been using a cancer charity to funnel money into him and his son's pockets. He defrauded all these students with Trump University. He had to pay $25 million in a lawsuit because he didn't want to go to trial, because he probably would pay more and more criminal charges might have come. And then this stuff at the moment, it's just annoying how political the process is, because a normal person would be in jail straight away. And that's why people should be more mad about Trump being president, because it's like one rules for them, different rules for all of us. And even in the UK, do you remember I don't know if people remember that girl from Oxford stabbed her boyfriend but got off because the judge said it was a nice girl or something like that. Okay, that's good. You still keep up your art though. Project management, yeah, that seems to be like the go-to for a lot of university students. Oh, okay, you just seen the title. Basically, he lost the game, the Madden game, and he just pulled the gun out and started killing people. And we don't know his motive, if he went in there, is it premeditated or anything? But that's what happened, and he killed a lot of people. But the original video, if you can go back and watch the what I was saying before, was just talking about gun control and US politics and everything like that. But yeah, I think that does it. This was only meant to be like a 10-minute video. I know I've been talking for an hour because everyone's been in the chat, which has been fun. But yeah, I should probably get down and do some work. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video in the future talking about what the future of the channel. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Where I could. Yeah, Cal. I'll say this before I go. So basically, I knew a lot of people in my master's course who were doing masters. It's called part-time masters. So you do the course stretched over 2 years. So I did it over one. I got another guy I did it was doing over two, and he just come to work and stuff. And you can get student finance for that as well. I think it's the same price and everything. One was $7,000. But the guy had a job. I think he came in, I don't know if it was once a week or twice a week, whereas I came in like 3 or 4 times. So yeah, it's totally doable to work as well. You just need, obviously work to be understandable. You might need like 2 hours off here and there, and obviously where you work is a big thing. So I lived at home for my masters. I did my undergrad away. I lived at home, so I just drove there, and you could feasibly do a job as well. So yeah, look into it, man. I think I don't know if the deadline's passed to sign up this year. If you're thinking about this year, but I'd still check. They accept people pretty late. They didn't have anything, you probably might have to do it next year or something, but yeah, you can do it over 2 years, and it's totally worth it if you're interested in it. I'm really, really glad I did mine. It really changed my views and everything, and in ways I didn't really expect, to be honest. A very drastic shift in my views in politics and everything, and that's a good thing about doing a politics style of masters. And I found it a lot easier than history as well. History is very hard. Politics I found a lot more casual. I've been doing a lot better this year. Oh, okay, yeah. So just check this year, because you got a lot of time. But I applied for mine in March, and I got a reference to my lecturer and everything like that. So yeah, it's definitely worth doing it, especially if you like uni as well. Just doing an extra year, doing something you like, and it's not really a step up, to be honest. I found it like a step down. I found it easier than third year. It's a lot more casual, a lot more time. I've been off for 3 months, 4 months now, doing my dissertation. If you have good self motivation, you'll be fine. So don't worry about it. Anyway, I think that's going to be the last thing I'm going to say, just because I got stuff to do now. It's pretty late. It's 1:20, so I'll probably go off. I'll make a video in the future to talk about the future of the channel and everything. That's what I want to do when I finish university and everything. If you go to my brother's channel, he just hit 1 million subs. Cavill, I don't know if anyone knows him watching this. But yeah, well done to him for that Jake and Logan Paul thing last night. Got like 54,000 views at one time. Watch his live stream. Yeah, thanks, man. Just have a look at it. Just see what caters best to you and everything. But yeah, everyone, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for some more videos. Check out the Elon Musk one if you haven't. And yeah, good chat, generic YouTube channel. Thanks for all the comments and the messages. It's been fun. And yeah, good live stream. I'll do another one soon. And everyone, cheers for watching.